Greetings all, this is Joe. Welcome to my scripture reflection for Tuesday, March the 7th. Hope you're doing well on this Tuesday morning. Here in the Northeast where I live, woke up to a little bit of snow on the ground. A little bit of a surprise, didn't realize it was going to come. There wasn't a whole lot out there, but I didn't even realize it until several minutes after I woke up. I was in the room just behind me here doing some katas or martial arts forms, and then I happened to look out the window and saw the white on the grass. It was a tempting thing to say, oh no, but I held myself back this time. I did. And that is a good preview for today's gospel, holding back from complaining. So let's just take a moment or two to quiet our minds and hearts as we prepare to hear today's gospel, which is from St. Matthew chapter 23, verses 1 through 12. Jesus spoke to the crowds and to his disciples, saying, "The scribes and the Pharisees have taken their seat on the chair of Moses. Therefore do and observe all things whatsoever they tell you, but do not follow their example. For they preach, but they do not practice. They tie up heavy burdens hard to carry and lay them on people's shoulders, but they will not lift a finger to move them. All their works are performed to be seen. They widen their phylacteries and lengthen their tassels. They love places of honor at banquets, seats of honor in synagogues, greetings in marketplaces, and the salutation, 'Rabbi.' As for you, do not be called Rabbi. You have but one teacher, and you are all brothers. Call no one on earth your father. You have but one Father in heaven. Do not be called master, but you have one master, the Christ. The greatest among you must be your servant. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, but whoever humbles himself will be exalted." This gospel I really enjoy listening to, where Jesus really kind of lays into the uppity ups of the society there and basically puts them in their place and says, hey, you think you're all that, but you're not. And when you think you're all that and you act like it, you're really not. But there's really another message within the message, and as there always is, there's so many messages in this gospel. Do not put burdens on other people's shoulders. And when these people do it, they don't lift a finger to remove them. What burdens do we put on others? Well, my friends, that's just human nature. We live with somebody if we're sick. Like I just went through this heart issue and still going through side effects with the medication. So that's a burden to my loved ones. Somewhat of a burden. It is. And then there's, hardships that go on in households and troubles, arguments that go on, and those are burdens we kind of lay on one another. But I will tell you that I feel they are all not as significant as one burden that we see often, too often, but we don't really realize it's there, and that is the burden of complaining. The burden of complaining is way too prevalent, my friends. And as I always say to you, I put up my hand and say, here I am, I'm right with you. I need to work on this very much so myself. When we're greeted in the morning, hey, how you doing? Aches, pains. How about, I'm doing fine, I'm doing great, thank you for asking. Wouldn't that be so much better? And aren't you not laying a burden on the other person when you say I'm doing fine instead of, yeah, I wish it was Friday, what a rough day today. That's a burden we're laying on others that we really don't need to. And we can be a little bit more upbeat in this life. When I was praying over this gospel, I was reminded of Mike, who I worked with years ago in Bell Atlantic. We worked in labor relations. And this was during a time in labor relations where it was quite contentious. During work stoppages, bricks were thrown at you, nails were left in the driveway for your car tires to get a flat. It was a tough place to work, and labor relations was not exactly at a good place, you know. And he was always upbeat and never ever complained about anything that we had to do, some of them pretty challenging tasks. And I always remember when I would speak to him in the morning, I'm doing great. I'm doing great, you know, and he meant it, and he really did. Of course, behind the scenes, we realized that he had had melanoma earlier in his life. And when he was stricken with melanoma, the hospital was so crowded that he was put in with the juvenile cancer patients. And he said that when he was lying there and he was really in bad shape and told that his chances to live were slim, he looked around and he saw these children who were all so sick. And he realized at that time that he really had nothing to complain about. And I remember him telling me that story. But here's the most important part. This was years, probably 15 years before we were working together, and he still had that positive attitude. He still elected not to lay a complaining burden on anybody's shoulders, and he continued in the 10 years we worked together, and I'm sure beyond that. There was consistency to his lack of putting burdens on others' shoulders that are named complaining. How about it, my friends? Let's give this a try, even just for today. And I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love to hear you say to me, hey, Joe, this worked out pretty well. I saw that I wasn't laying a burden on anybody else, and wow, what a good feeling it was. Tell me how it works for you. Tell me what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear from you because I really feel this one can go a long way towards everybody's faith life, everybody's life of peace and compassion in this world. Well, my friends, I leave you with that. I thank you as always. My website is going to be going some exciting changes coming up in the next couple of weeks. I will keep you updated on that. I wish you all a wonderful Tuesday, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Take care, everyone.